I do apologize, I'm a little weird today. Also, do you like it? Hello ladies. Welcome back to my channel if you're one of my wonderful subscribers, and welcome and hello if you are new here. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button to follow along with my IVF, adoption, and infertility journey. Lots going on this channel, so you might as well come along for the ride. Today I thought I would be a little vulnerable with you, not that I'm not always a little vulnerable with you, but this is one of those things that I contemplated sharing or not sharing, and finally decided that it's worth it to share in case any of you are stumbling with the same fears that I am. I have gotten a lot more comfortable with the idea of adoption and open adoption since we originally started talking about it way back when, in the 2018. Some of them I'm completely over, and some of them will be a work in progress, but that's totally fine because most people go into parenthood kind of afraid. You should be, if you've never done it before. So adoption fears aren't that different than just parenting fears. So the first fear I had was really, I think, common and short-lived, and it was a fear of not bonding. That somehow by not carrying this child, that like they weren't gonna bond to me and I wasn't gonna bond to them, or it was just a really big fear of it just not working out from like a parent-child relationship point of view. And I finally got over this one just because I have bonded with other people's children. Obviously not in the dynamic of a parent-child, but as a caregiver or a teacher, like I have forged emotional relationships with other children that weren't biologically mine. So that's not really a worry. It's not really a worry. Your bond is built off of parenting and the time you spend with them, so it's not biology. The next one is kind of related to that, but it was the fear that I wouldn't be able to make them feel loved, like they wouldn't feel that love for me, which is again irrational. Like, of course that's going to happen. That's not going to be an issue. They're going to feel loved and know they're loved. But I think a lot of this stems from too that we still plan on having biological children. So that's kind of subsection of that fear, is that they won't feel loved, or they will feel like they are loved less than biological children. And it's so silly to me now when I think about it, because I think about how much I've wanted this child and how much love they already have, even though they don't even exist, or they might exist, but I don't know who they are yet. So it just all got lumped into kind of this, well, no, they're gonna be my child and I'm going to love them unconditionally and they're gonna know that too. So those kind of dissipated as I sat with them for longer. One of the fears that is kind of ongoing, or it's morphed from a fear to more of I don't want to say known issue, but something that I'm going to just be working on and learning about, and it will be work in progress always, and that is being a responsible parent to a child that is a different race than your own. So essentially entering into a transracial adoption. I had a lot of fear around that, not because I particularly care what the race of my child is, but because I knew there was specific challenges with making sure that their identity was formed correctly growing up in a family that isn't their race. I talked about this a little bit in my closed versus semi-open versus open video about the things you can do to help a child that's adopted form their identity, because you need to help them form their identity, period. And then adding in a transracial adoption is just a whole new layer of that. And then racism is real. So how to parent a child responsibly who's going to interface with racism is really hard when you're coming from a perspective of someone who has experienced discrimination in various forms, but not racism. So those are just kind of extra parenting things that are added to your plate when you go into an adoption that's transracial, but I am coming more and more to terms with that because there's a lot of things you have to learn how to do as a parent and that you're morally responsible for your child's well-being. And even though this isn't something that people default into having to learn, it is something that is well studied and now kind of well advised, as in there's a lot of literature around it to advise you how to cope with it. So it becomes less scary. It's definitely something I still need to learn quite a bit about, but it's something I'm comfortable that I can learn about enough to successfully parent. The husband is home. I'm filming a video. You want to come say hi?
Happy International Women's Day.
Yes, happy International Women's Day.
How much darker your hair is.
Yes, did you notice?
You look like a whole new woman.
I am a whole new woman. Do you like it? I asked them if they liked it, but do you like it?
I don't know. You have to give me some time to
to acclimate to your blonde dream going away?
To digest this new information.
Hey, do you wanna, I'm doing a video around the fears I had around adoption. Did you have a fear you would be willing to share and how you got over it?
I am fearless.
All right, so you heard him. He's fearless. No fears from the husband. But I had fears. So let's chat about those. One of the things that scared me right off the bat was learning that open adoption is pretty standard now, and I think almost everyone's first knee-jerk reaction to an open adoption and the birth family being involved is, no, mine, like my child, please don't. And then you calm down. Essentially, that's all it is you become more and more comfortable with the idea when you see more and more open adoptions modeled well, and that those are really healthy relationships. And then again, I go over in that other video that there's just so many benefits for the child and for the birth mother and for the birth parents. And when everything's said and done, the majority of the time, open adoptions end up being beneficial for all parties involved. And you just kind of got to get educated, because it goes against what you've seen a lot of the times in the past few decades, or in the past, you know, your parents' generation of adoption is way different than what our generation of adoption looks like. And you just haven't seen that many cases of it modeled until you go looking for it. And YouTube's a great resource. There's quite a few different channels that I follow. I will put them there, that show open adoptions and how wonderful those can work out. So that's just something you get used to. Obviously, you can still opt for a closed adoption if you want, or a semi-open, but it's my goal and the husband's goal now to enter into an open adoption if it's the best thing for everyone. So my next fears were around wasting time and money. Yeah, adoption period costs a lot of money. I have a whole video on it, you can go up there. And so the cost was just daunting to think of saving that much money. And then the wasting time piece was around wasting time for fertility treatments, which we mitigated by going out and doing IVF, getting our embryos frozen. It is much more pressing to get your embryos made than to do transfers. You can do transfers way later in life than you can do successful egg retrievals. So we mitigated that one, and I don't really feel like it's wasting time, because now, a few months out from that decision, I know how much better I'm doing mentally and physically, and so it's totally worth it to me now. You gotta take breaks when you need breaks in this whole journey, because it's not just this one goal. It's not like you get one child and then you're like, ah, I'm done. Like, this is a marathon I'm running. This is our entire family building exercise that will span probably over almost a decade. So yeah, take breaks when you need. You're usually not ever wasting time when you think you need to take a break. My next two fears are actually around like the adoption process itself. One of them was, and this one, not gonna lie, this is still like really real for me. This one I have not mitigated very well, and it's if we get shown to a birth mother and then she doesn't pick us. I don't know what that day is gonna look at. I don't know if I'm gonna be mad or sad or frustrated or hurt or okay with it. I'm dreading that like spike of hope and then it just coming crashing down when she chooses someone else over us. I've made my profile book, I've made my profile video, and that's all I can do really. And that it's good to have everything done, but it stinks to not be able to do more, and you just want to get in front of a mother to convince them that like we're the best. But you can't, that's not how it works. That's why there's books, and everyone in the program is great. It's not like there's anybody not deserving in the program anyway. So I am sure there'll be a video about that one if we get a call that we didn't get picked. And finally, my worst, kind of deepest fear is that we get picked, we get matched, we go to the hospital, the baby's born, I get to hold the baby, and then the birth mother decides to parent. And this is an area where I'm still working on growing and kind of managing my emotions around it, because it's every right for that birth mother to choose to do that. And I completely respect that. But the devastation it would wreak on me and the husband is just astronomical. It would be very similar to just another miscarriage, except this time it's almost worse. I don't want to say it's worse, it's kind of comparing apples to oranges, but it's going to be that same magnitude of emotions. And so that is my deepest fear around adoption. I have done the paperwork, I have done the home study. We are well on our way to saving the money. I am okay with open adoption now. I am okay with transracial adoption and the challenges that presents in front of us. I am still very afraid of that moment when I get to hold a child, think it's mine, and then not get to take it home. I'm not sure that fear goes away. There's some people that seem to have like just never-ending faith in their birth mothers and that that's not going to happen to them. My agency has an incredibly low disruption rate, just really low, and that's part of the reason I picked them. If anybody has any like tips for dealing with that fear, I would really appreciate it. But now you know. Those were my fears, some of them current, some of them gone. What are your fears around adoption? I would love to kind of hear what other people find concerning. I think it's very interesting, different people's kind of sticking points or concerns around this whole process, whether it be IVF or IUI or adoption. Lots of people have different kind of fears and concerns around it, so feel free to share below and maybe we can share a few tips for coping with that. That's my list of fears, and I'm still overwhelmingly excited for this and really hope that 2019 is the year we do get our take-home baby. But you'll have to stick around to see. Hit that subscribe button to join the family. And until next time, ladies, keep on fighting.